What is going on, everybody? I just walked out of the theater from watching Blue Beetle. It was a pretty late show, and it's like 1 in the morning at this point, but I had to get my thoughts out. My fresh out of the theater review for Blue Beetle, the latest film in the DCEU, not quite DCU yet, a character that we might see in the DCU going forward, but still has references to things that happen in the DCEU. Not quite sure how that works out, but how was the movie? Spoiler free at first, and then I'll get into some spoilers later. If you had paid attention to some stuff that I've talked about on my main channel, this is a movie that when it was first announced, I thought, okay, I like Zola Maridueño, who is the lead actor in this. He's also Miguel from Cobra Kai. That's where probably most people are familiar with him. I was hesitantly okay and excited with the movie Blue Beetle because I know Blue Beetle from the comics. He's not super well known, but both the Ted Kord and the Jaime Reyes version, I know a little bit about both of them. So I thought, how is this going to be? I wasn't against it. Then Angel Manuel Soto, the director, opened his mouth. We had the Batman as a fascist line. He was really happy that fans were pissed off. DC shut him up and shut him down. How would it affect this movie? This movie is about as average as you could possibly imagine. It is a paint-by-numbers superhero origin movie that we've probably seen a dozen of in the past, I don't know, decade and a half, where it's like, okay, someone happens upon these powers. They didn't ask for them, but they got given them somehow, and they have to come to terms with that. And of course, the villain is someone who's exactly like them, except a little bit bigger and more powerful. That was this movie. There was also a lot. This is unapologetically a very Latino movie. They've advertised it like that. They've talked about that relentlessly. But even with that being said, it was completely and totally. All the jokes were meant to be references for things where people grew up in Hispanic families. There was a ton of different references and little things thrown out for the entire thing. One of the big aspects of this movie was family. I think that was a good part of it. It was a good part about, family values and about families sticking together and stuff like that. But nearly all of it was told from a Hispanic perspective. There was also a lot of, hey, look at all of us oppressed Latino families being kept down by rich white people. That was all over this movie. That message was impossible to ignore. There was discussions about illegal immigration and stuff like that in there too. There was also stuff about sexism in the corporate world. A lot of messaging in the movie. It certainly didn't ruin the movie, but I do think there's going to be some people that just get tired of listening to that in this movie. If I think that there's going to be a lot of Latino families and a lot of Hispanic people that this really resonates with them and they really go out and support it. I think there's going to be a lot of people who have absolutely zero connection to that don't get that much out of it, to be honest with you. You might get pretty annoyed with some of the stuff. I thought that the family, that Jaime Reyes' family in this, there was some funny parts of it. It was a little bit overkill. I guess I'll get into spoiler territory now. Overall, I think the movie is very, very mid and weighed down a little bit by some of the messaging. Overall, I'd probably give it a 4 out of 10. But definitely not the worst movie that we've seen this year by far. Some of the spoilers that I'll get into, I don't want to get too deep into it, but for when it comes to the family aspect, there was a lot of stuff they did with Ted Kord references. So you meet Ted Kord's daughter. She takes you to Ted Kord's Beetle cave, basically. His family figures out how to drive the bug and fly the bug there to save Jaime Reyes, all this shit. But I think George Lopez, the grandmother with a freaking Tommy gun, essentially, it was just a little bit cringe and a little much. And I don't think it came off as super funny. I think it came off as a little tiresome by the end of the movie. But the positives, I like Zola Maridueño as an actor. He gives the same feel as he does as Miguel in Cobra Kai, to be honest, in this movie, and I think that's good. And the whole family thing, I think the family aspect of this was very positive, and it's great to have a movie about families sticking together. I just wish they didn't have to always go back to reliance upon, look at this struggle that we're in because all these rich white corporate people continue to keep us down and raise our rent and push us out. That was a huge, huge part of the movie. Like I said, you really can't escape that. They told you, the director said that he wanted it to be about that messaging, and it certainly is. But overall, a very average movie, weighed down a little bit by messaging. Not the worst movie I've ever seen, but certainly nothing groundbreaking. It's fine. 4 out of 10. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comment section below, and I'll talk to you later.